Hello, beautiful soul. Random, not so random thought in this moment. So, a new friend of mine was teaching me a bit about the Quran, and a lot of the things that he was saying, definitely resonated with me, and he encouraged me to look into reading it, so I found a I found a podcast on Spotify, and it reads, it provides the Quran in English audio. So I've been listening, and the way my memory works, I'm not going to remember everything, but in this moment, what has kind of stood out for me, this idea of well, first of all, my first impressions just with what my friend was sharing about Islam, and the idea that it's not even really technically a religion, it's more of a way of life, and Islam is based in peace, it's about peace, and this narrative and this idea that has been created about people that practice Islam, it's almost as if it's been an intentional effort to suppress something that could actually be very beneficial for people, and for me, with any religion or doctrine or anything that kind of holds a higher power outside of ourselves, I look at religion as like religions in general, even though I know I just said Islam isn't necessarily technically a religion, it's a way of life, but it's viewed as a religion. That's how people kind of understand it to be, and that's what it's accepted as, right? And within the context of religions and things where there are these deities or beings that are kind of held up, these things outside of ourselves, right? I kind of tend to look at religion outside of necessarily the hardcore beliefs, and more so just kind of tools and messages that present themselves to us on our journey, right? And it's allowing ourselves to receive the lessons from the messages. And one of the things that he had mentioned was, this idea of being open to accept those messages from anyone, regardless of if they're Muslim or not, and knowing that God, this source outside of ourselves that is protecting us and guiding us and carrying us on this journey, they're going to bring us messages through various forms, ways, people, right? So we have to allow ourselves to be open to that, to be open to receive the messages, even from sources that we might not necessarily see, or believe in, I don't remember where I was going with that, but the thing that I guess was standing out for me in this moment, and it was just like a couple times that had been mentioned, not that this is something that is central or even the biggest parts of it, but this idea of punishment, for those deeds that go against you know, kind of these guidelines or principles of life, right? When we go against those, then there's punishment that happens. And I think, you know, and in the Bible and in most religious kind of texts, you have this idea, right, where there is a punishment for something that we do. And, you know, I think sometimes things are explained in story, and it's explained in a way that it's explained in a way oh shoot, I don't remember what I was saying. I got distracted. Okay. I kind of forgot where I was going, but you know, this idea of punishment for straying away from, you know, that kind of righteous path, right? And I think sometimes we take these things so literally, you know, and we look at it as if, you know, I have to do these things, and if I don't do these things, then I'm going to have this punishment, right? And then this idea is that if I do these good things, if I perform in these approved of ways, then I'm going to be rewarded. I'm going to get this beautiful thing, right? And there's this idea that, you know, it's after life that we're going to kind of cash in on that we're going to receive, you know, either the rewards or the punishments, right? But the thing is that all of that is interwoven in life, you know, as we go about our lives and we are living our truth, right? Like truly, honestly, deeply living our truth and living who we are completely, right? And this is with me being of the belief that each one of us, who we are at our core, is love, right? Who we are at our core, at the core of our being, right, is a peaceful and loving being who, you know, over time, over lifetimes, have had all these different stories placed upon them, right? All these different ideas of who they are and how they show up in this world, and all these different things that have been layered up on top of us all throughout our life, all throughout our lifetimes, right? And as we are adding on these different layers, you know, we're moving further and further away from our true selves, right? But as we allow ourselves to come back to that, right? As we allow ourselves to truly look within ourselves and peel off all these layers that aren't truly us, right? And come back to the core, come back to the center, come back to peace, come back to love, right? As we are doing that, we're able to recognize that love and that peace in everything, right? Even in the pain, even in the difficult moments, you know. And while in the Quran and in the Bible and in these, you know, other religious texts that I have not read, so I am not speaking with authority, I'm just speaking, you know, what I'm thinking in this moment, and I could be wrong, you know. And I know I hesitated with that. I could be wrong, maybe, you know, but you know, I could be. So I'm not speaking on any authority of knowing like all these things. I have not read these books. I'm not an authority on them. These are just my thoughts and my beliefs and what's coming through for me in this moment based on what I was listening to, right? So as we come closer to the truth of who we are, the truth of our nature, of what we all are, right? Our experience is also shifting, right? Right now, I am in a space where even though, you know, it's heartbreaking to witness the things that are happening, right? I can sit in a place of gratitude in knowing that all of this is part of the process. You know, this is part of getting to where it is we want to go, you know, within spiritual communities. The idea of this new earth, you know, this 5D reality, whatever it is you call it, that we're moving towards, this is a process to get there, you know. So, you know, even though through my, you know, speaking out and activism and wanting to be more of an active part of that, you know, there's a few people within the spiritual communities that have, you know, kind of given me that reminder not to allow it to harden you, or, you know, not to get too consumed, or, you know, you don't want to you know, get too lost in that frequency or that vibration, you know. But the thing is that this is the path, you know, this is the road to get to what it is that you want, you know. So really what we just have to do is, and I know I'm kind of going off tangents, I'm gonna get back to where I was before, I'm sure, maybe, but this is the path to get there, right? This is the road to go there. But I digress. Let me go back. You know, the idea of, you know, bad means I get punished, good means I get rewarded. You know, I think sometimes we have this idea that it's going to be this grand thing that happens after we die. You know, we go to the burning pits of hell, or we ascend to the heavens, and, you know, it's just love and light, you know. But the thing is that we're here now, and we're experiencing all of it. We're experiencing what happens when we are not in alignment with our authentic selves, right? When we're trying to be something we're not, when we're going against our true nature, when we're going against love, when we're moving against peace, right? We feel the effects of that, right? And we feel that in real time, right? So if you do something and then you have that feeling of guilt, right? Or shame, right? Or now you're afraid, or there's anxiety, or that's a punishment in a sense, right? You know, if you view your feelings, you know, in that sense, you know, and it's not until we start to work on ourselves that we're able to you know, find gratitude for those moments that you know, we feel lower, you know, we feel drained, you know, things are just weighing a lot heavier, and you know, coming to a place where you can sit in that and find gratitude for that moment. And, you know, it's a process. And I'm not saying this from a place of being there, you know. I'm saying this, yes, I've definitely gotten to a space where it's so much easier to sit with the pain and to sit with the heartache, you know. I've gotten to a space where I can sit within that in peace and in gratitude, knowing that it's part of the process. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm not still feeling that, you know. I'm still feeling the heaviness, I'm still feeling that pain and that heartache, but I can feel it with gratitude, you know, gratitude in knowing what this moment means and what everything that's happening means, you know, because I know that with growing comes pain, you know, and we're experiencing exponential growth right now, right? Our consciousness is becoming more and more aware and awakened, right? We're able to see more, which means that we'll have to carry more, right? And again, I know I'm going all over the place. but I'm just allowing it to flow as it comes. And actually, I stopped here because I wanted to use the restroom, but I shall wait. Yeah, I think, you know, as I continue to listen to the Quran, I'll, you know, share my thoughts and feelings on the things that come through for me. And, you know, as with this moment, it might be not so related, I don't know. Just kind of like an offshoot that came from, you know. But with regards to that aspect, you know, the punishment and the reward idea of religion, I think it's built into life. You know, I don't think it's necessarily that, you know, after you die, all these things are going to be added up against you, and that's going to determine your afterlife experience. You know, I believe in reincarnation. So I think with each life, there are different lessons that we're meant to learn. You know, there's growth that our soul, you know, is experiencing. And you know, the things in this life can affect experiences in the next. You know, it doesn't mean it's necessarily like a hell, or, you know, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if you do a lot of good in this life, that your next life is going to be a piece of cake, you know. Because growth is a reward, you know, and the pain of growth is a part of that, you know. And another thing, like with religion in general, you know, what tends to happen is we take this document, and because it's seen as this, you know, all holy like entity, you know, we put so much faith in that, you know, and sometimes it's really just here to plant a seed, right? It's not necessarily a rule book. It's not necessarily something that's saying this is the way that it has to be. You know, it's kind of providing us guidelines and guiding us towards the true center of our beings, you know, guiding us towards who we are as our core, you know. And really, we're meant to, you know, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You know, it's not something that you have to feel, I have to follow this to the T. You know, you don't need a book to tell you how to be a good person. You know, learn how to love yourself truly, like really deeply, and then it's no problem loving everyone else. You know, it's easy to recognize yourself in everyone else. It's easy to recognize the connection that we all share, you know. So yeah, it's just my thoughts in this moment, as discombobulated as they were. You know, I hope you found some value within it. But yeah, I will continue my dive into the Quran. You know, and I think it's important that we open our minds to other ideas, you know, and open our minds to, you know, the idea that perhaps we've been fed a story that wasn't true. You know, we've been fed many stories that aren't true. But as it relates to the Quran, you know, as it relates to Islam, as it relates to Muslims, right? As it relates to the Middle East in general, you know, we have to kind of open our eyes to see how we've been kind of led down this path of belief, and that maybe it's, should open our mind to exploring for ourselves, and making up our own minds. Because the story that I have received, from media, from TV, like all the things, is the idea that Islam was something that needed to be feared. It was something that and it was something that within it was, hateful, right? But it's not that at all. It's like the opposite, and it's almost like it was so important for them to hide that from us, to make us too afraid to look at it, to study it, to explore it, so that we wouldn't lose this idea that we have about these people, who have been painted in such a way, And it's just, one of those ways that when I say they, the people in power, the power structures that rule, the government in collaboration with the media and all those behind that pulling strings, right? There's a clear agenda that's there, a clear agenda that's at play. And when it comes to the things that are happening in the world, when it comes to what is happening right now in Gaza, in the Middle East, in Congo, in Sudan, when it comes to all these things that are happening, we have to think about who is benefiting from these things, and very often the people that are benefiting are those that are in power, right? People are making money off of the things that are happening, right? It's profitable, right? So we have to, be open to the idea that maybe the people that are profiting from it also play a part in orchestrating it, and they orchestrate these things by manipulating our beliefs, by using psychology, right? By having a deep understanding of the human mind, right? So we just have to also develop that deep understanding so that we don't put ourselves in a place of being manipulated and controlled and directed, right? Where we're tuning in and listening to ourselves. What's true for me? What feels right? Like, am I just going along because I'm part of this group? Because, I'm in this club and all the other club members are saying this? Is this an original idea, or is this something that I've been told? And if it's not an original idea, if it's not an original belief, if it's something that has been taught to you, allow yourself to question it. And I'm not saying that all the things that you're taught are false or lies. I'm just saying that if it's not your original thought, if you didn't come up with it, if it's not true from within your soul, then allow yourself to evaluate it, right? Allow yourself to question it. Don't just accept it. Really dive deep within it, and look at it from all angles, because we block ourselves in, we limit ourselves when we just accept, So don't even accept what I say. You know, I'm just speaking my thoughts, sharing how I feel, expressing the things that are roaming through my brain, right? And I haven't done much research, right? So, you know, you could take it with a grain of salt, but allow yourself to do your own research, right? To actually do some research, and do some research within, right? Meditate on things, right? Ask yourself a question and then meditate for that answer to come through, right? Sit for a moment and just breathe and come to the heart space. Just come to the moment and feel into what's true for you, right? What at your core feels right, you know? And if you are someone that is supporting the genocide that's taking place, you know, that's especially for you. You know, it's for everyone, but in this moment, you know, just asking you, you know, to really sit with yourself for a moment, you know, and ask yourself, are all my beliefs and thoughts my own? Are they original? Did they come through me, or have they been given to me from someone else, right? You know, and allow yourself to question and to evaluate your beliefs. You know, we all should question and evaluate the things that we believe constantly, because it should shift, right? As we learn, as we grow, as we evolve, our beliefs change, you know, because we change, we evolve. When we don't allow ourselves to take in new information, we stop ourselves from growing, right? We keep ourselves stuck in this one mindset, right? This herd kind of mentality, right? But we're all different, you know, even through our oneness, even through our deep connection to each other, right? We're individuals, right? We are unique expressions of the same source. That's what I believe, right? So just allow yourself to tune into who you really are. Where do you really, really stand? What's true for you? Take a step back from, you know, the echo chamber, right? Take a step out of it. You know, go into spaces with people that disagree with you, you know, and this is for everyone, right? Allow yourself to be open to listen to those that you don't agree with, right? You'll be surprised how much you can learn from them. And not necessarily because they know more than you, or they're smarter than you, or they're right and you're wrong, right? But they're here to provide you deep lessons, right? Every trigger, every time that you are triggered, the universe is providing you an opportunity to grow, right? Because that trigger is pointing you to something deeper within yourself, right? Something deeper about yourself. So you just have to allow yourself to be open to those situations. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy to face someone that might be creating trauma for you, right? But we have to work on allowing ourselves to extend a bridge to those on the other side, regardless of what side that is. And that's going to take time. You know, I talk about a lot of these things, and it might seem as though I'm saying that we need to do this tomorrow, you know, and while that would be ideal, you know, it's a long road that's ahead of us. You know, it's a long road ahead, and we have to be patient. patient with ourselves, patient with the process, you know. Yeah. This collective journey of healing relies on each one of us to do healing within ourselves, right? So we have to allow ourselves to be open to that, you know? Yeah. I think with that, I believe I am complete. And I do need to use the restroom. So, yeah. Sending so much love. And if you made it this far, so much gratitude.